Good Monday morning, everybody. It is Monday, May 19th, 2025, and this is the first segment of the Chris Richman Show. Welcome back in. Those of you listening and or watching, appreciate you joining us today. As I said, this is segment one, and it's funny, there's a lot of stuff that went on over the weekend, but we'll be hitting the big ones today, the big points. Which there's a lot of that too. Hope you all had a great weekend. It was an interesting weekend, no doubt about it. There was a lot of things that came out in the news that were shocking in some cases, not surprising in others. But just it was interesting. Let's put it that way. I want to start off real quick. Maybe with not exactly the biggest news in the week, but certainly something that was interesting. And I don't even know how, well, let me put it this way. I don't quite understand a lot of how this happened. Let's put it that way. This is one of those things that you look at it and you're going, something isn't quite right here. This was on, Saturday? Yeah, Saturday early. I saw this on the news, a Mexican Navy training ship. Now, this is, when they say training ship, a lot of people think, it's a destroyer or something like that, right? Because modern Navy, it doesn't run around with sailboats per se, or sailing ships. But this was more of a ceremonial training ship, rendering honors, that kind of thing. And apparently, it lost power whilst going up the Hudson River, I think it was, and it slid backwards essentially into the Brooklyn Bridge, snapped off all three masts, about halfway down, snapped them right off. Which he makes sense. You hit the Brooklyn Bridge, it's not going to give. Didn't disrupt traffic, it looks like, not really. But apparently, at least, I think it was 2 sailors were killed. If you're looking at the screen, you can kind of see it. Let's, I don't know if there's any profanity in this. I don't recall off the top of my head, but if you're watching this, I'll go ahead and turn on the audio here, and we can comment on this. So when this video starts, this is taken from one side. I don't know which, to be honest with you. But the boat is going backwards at a fairly rapid rate, and crowds, oohing and awing, obviously, because wow. And yeah, snapping the mast right in half. Now, this is the thing I don't understand. So 2 people were apparently killed when this happened. It's 19 injured or something to that effect. And my question is this: if you know the power's going, first of all, why would the power go out? Why would you not have an auxiliary power unit? Now, if you watch from another angle here, let me see if I can find, if I have another angle of it. Okay, well, I don't. But if you watch from another angle, there was a tug that was racing. So apparently this happened further upstream, much further upstream. And for those of you who don't know, the Hudson has a pretty strong current, very strong actually. And so it's not surprising that a boat, even this size, got taken in it. But there were tugs racing to try and stop the boat from hitting the bridge, which is common. And I guess my big thing with this is, and there were still sailors up on the masts, because that's part of the thing, is you have these sailors up there holding onto the wires, and that's part of the rendering honors. And there's video of these guys falling off of this boat once it hit. And my thing is this: why on earth? Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Why on earth would those men still be up there? You know the boat's lost power. you know what it's heading for. Why on earth would you not pull those sailors off the mast? That was honestly my first thought once I found out that there were actually sailors on the mast. Initially, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, what is everybody freaking out about? Well, it was because there was actually sailors up there. Why wouldn't you pull those people off the mast? You know, all of them. Get them off there because you don't know where. Yeah, I would have cleared the decks. Again, you don't know when that hits. And that thing, you don't know if it's going to snap like this. You don't know if it's just going to break off a little bit. You don't know if the whole mast isn't going to come tumbling down. And you don't know how fast. So as the captain of the boat, my thing would be, you know, get the people under my command. First of all, try and secure the boat, you know, work with however you need to do it, but get the boat secured, get the power back to make sure there is no incident. But again, once it becomes clear, even before that, you know, okay, hey guys, we need to secure the boat, blah, 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 blah. And I need everybody off the masts now, because if we hit the bridge and those masts snap, those guys are in trouble. Why didn't that happen? Why would you let those guys be up there and women potentially? I don't know if Mexico's Navy has women in it. Why? You know, and again, even on the decks, except for people that are trying to get the boat back under control, why would you have people on the deck? Because when those masts snap, you don't know they're not going to fall down. You know, the guy wires holding the things up, you know, that had the lights strung down on it. You don't know those are going to happen. And of course, Democrats, obviously. And again, all this stuff happening the way it is awful damn convenient. Let me just put it that way. Because here's Chuck Schumer. With the Brooklyn Bridge strike last night, I'm fighting for answers about whether Trump and Doge have impacted water traffic control. Are you kidding me, Chuck? Really? We know they've been meddling with the U.S. Coast Guard staffing. Trump relieved Admiral Linda Fagan as commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, and that position is still vacant. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Pardon my French. Are you kidding me? Apologies for the profanity. You don't just promote somebody immediately. That's why we're where we're at. And the hiring freeze has limited the ability for the U.S. Coast Guard to staff up the vehicle traffic service. That's their traffic control operation that acts like air traffic control, but on water. Okay, great. So let's see what Homeland Security replied to this. Minority Leader Schumer's accusations that a hiring freeze led to the U.S. Coast Guard's vessel traffic services not being adequately staffed are false. The U.S. Coast Guard has been fully supported and been exempt from hiring freezes. Additionally, this incident has nothing to do with the vessel traffic services. When a ship loses propulsion in a high current area, the vessel needs to engage all capabilities to stop, and ideally tugs are nearby to support, which there was one racing trying to get there in time. We encourage Minority Leader Schumer to get his facts straight before he misleads the American people, which, you know, that's reasonable. But I guess my thing, again, would be this is, you're telling me the thing didn't have an auxiliary power unit? Some way, you know, in case the main engines failed to get out of there? It didn't have any kind of APU at all. Or maybe it did. I mean, to be honest, like I said, the Hudson is a very it's a very high flow river. Maybe it did, and it just wasn't strong enough. That's possible. I have to throw that out there, right? But again, my big thing is why were those men still up on the mast? Get them off there. Get them on the deck at least, and then if you've got too many people, you know, get them out of there quickly. You got boats around there, you know, at least that tug. But let me put it this way. If it comes down to, you know, having them throw life vests on and get in the water, I would think that would be better than having them get killed by a mass crushing them. Just me. Again, I don't know that area well, so there may be something I'm missing here. If so, please let me know. But I find it odd that we're having, you know, all of a sudden these airports are having these issues, and all of a sudden this Mexican ship loses power. I haven't seen one thing from Claudia Scheinbaum. Now, granted, I don't really follow her per se as closely as maybe I do other political figures. But let's see here. Let's see if she has anything here. Blah, 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 blah. Por supuesto, es en español. No sé. Anyway, I don't know. I see nothing from Presidente Scheinbaum, so we'll see. Maybe, just maybe. I do find it odd she hasn't commented, though. That does seem strange to me. I would be the first person, if I was the president of Mexico and I saw that one of my ships, ceremonial or not, carrying some of my sailors, had an incident like this, especially on foreign soil, or waters in this case, I'd be all about it. It just seems strange to me. I don't know. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm missing something, but I kind of doubt it. All right. Let's move on real quick. We have the tolerant left, of course, on display all over the place, naturally. Let's go to the WNBA. Now, you're saying, what on earth are you talking about the WNBA for? So, y'all may remember last year, this gal named Caitlin Clark came up to the WNBA, as did Angel Reese. Now, these were two highly ranked players, very good, successful in college. But Caitlin Clark especially got a lot of attention because she is the all-time leading scorer for basketball, college basketball, men's or women's. All-time leading scorer, past Pete Maravich. And so when she was a rookie last year in the WNBA, she set all kinds of records and got Rookie of the Year. And it was pretty much unanimous. And of course, that didn't go over well with the sports media because the sports media is as liberal as anything else, if not more so. And they wanted to see Angel Reese be Rookie of the Year, amongst other things, because, well, she's not white. That's a lot of it. Caitlin Clark had a fantastic year. Like I said, broke all kinds of records, did all kinds of great things, but again, is white, so that wasn't helping the cause that the liberal media wanted to advance. Anyway, and she was beat the hell out of. Caitlin Clark got the crap beat out of her during these games. Flagrant fouls, you name it. Flagrant fouls, technical fouls, all kinds of stuff. I mean, no fouls called when she would just get hammered. Nothing. And that can cause people issues. That can cause them to get mad, which understandably, right? You get beat up enough, eventually you're going to defend yourself. So, as usual, there was the crap talking of Caitlin Clark during a game between the Indiana Fever, which Clark plays for, and Chicago, who Angel Reese plays for. Chicago Stars or something like that. I can't remember the name of the team off the top of my head. I'm having a mind blank. Anyway, so Caitlin Clark, and I'll play the video here. Caitlin Clark fouled Angel Reese, and it was called a flagrant. I don't quite see it as a flagrant foul. I don't think it'd be called a flagrant foul in the NBA. I don't think it would have been a flagrant foul if it had been Angel Reese, and I'll show you evidence of that here in just a second. But whatever, it was called a flagrant foul. Let's see the reaction to this. Okay, so if you're watching, you can see it. If not, you'll hear it.
Strong on a three. And look out, Caitlin Clark pushes Angel Reese, and Angel Reese gets right up into Caitlin Clark.
Actually, she didn't.
Afterwards has something to say as Clark.
Okay, so you'll see the replay, and Clark kind of comes in and goes to take the ball and uses a little bit of extra effort. I mean, I would have called it a foul. Maybe a flagrant. Okay, fair enough. I guess. I guess it could be called a flagrant. To me, I don't know. To me, a flagrant foul is a little more violent than that. Whatever. And, Angel Reese gets in her face. No, Caitlin Clark walked off. Now, that part makes me think it was intentional. Okay, fine. You can give fouls. If you have fouls to give, you give fouls instead of allowing an easy scoring opportunity. That doesn't matter whether it's basketball, or soccer, what we call soccer football. If you have a blatant scoring opportunity and you have somebody who has no yellow cards for the match, sometimes you have a tactical foul. And you give a yellow, you yank the jersey or whatever it is, you get a yellow card, that's fine, but the person didn't score. Instead, they get a free kick. Anyway.
Walks away.
So Clark walked away instead of engaging.
Always increased eyeballs, energy, and attention.
And Angel Reese is still going off at this point. Still mad, still talking, still jawing.
Is still going after Caitlin Clark.
So here's the replay. Now she strips. Now that's where the flagrant comes in. Is she strips the ball out, which would be a foul because she impeded, but then she kind of throws her arm up a little bit. So that's probably where they're getting the flagrant foul. Okay, fair enough.
As soon as you saw Angel Reese wide open, you knew that Caitlin Clark was going to come in and take that foul.
Right, exactly. It's a tactical foul. So Angel Reese jumps up and starts jawing at her, and Caitlin Clark just says, yeah, whatever, basically. I don't know what she said exactly, and then walks away, okay? Instead of getting up in her face, which is what they wanted, ESPN wanted this too. Don't ever think they didn't. But she walked away. She made the statement, hey, you know what? I'm not just going to let you walk in there and score on me. It's not going to happen. I don't care if you're, Angel Reese, Michael Jordan, whatever. You're not getting to the hoop without some resistance, shall we say, which is, again, that's the whole point of that foul. Angel Reese was wide open. She could have taken a jumper. No, instead she went to drive to the hoop, which is fine. That's her choice. Clark said, nope, you're not going to do that. And like I said, took the ball away, stripped the ball away. You saw it on the video there if you're watching. But then she moved her arm up a little bit. Now, this is kind of similar to baseball, if you want to tie it to another sport here. Baseball, when you got a player who is crowding the plate, right? Bob Gibson was infamous for this, or Satchel Paige too as well. And there's a lot of baseball pitchers that did this. Get a guy who's crowding the plate so you can't throw on the inside corner. So then you end up throwing away, and then the guy hits it a mile, right? So, and it wasn't, and there's a lot of players that did this, a lot of pitchers rather. Nolan Ryan was infamous for this too, now that I think about it. But yeah, you crowd the plate, and you better be expecting that the ball's going to get thrown at you. It'll be high and tight, won't be meant to hit you, but it's to send a message. Back the heck off of the plate. Stop crowding the plate. If you don't get the message, yeah, then maybe you would get hit. And it wouldn't be in the head. No, people don't usually throw at the head sometimes. But yeah, you get it in the butt or in the back or something like that. And again, that was meant to send a message. Now, of course, nowadays you throw high and tight, and knocks the batter down, you get a warning. You do it again, you're out. You get thrown out of the game, which I don't know. I get it, I guess, but come on. Anywho, and that's standard baseball. If you get somebody who hits a home run on you, that used to be a message. Hey, you're not doing it again this time. You're not going to get this easy. So anyway, it is what it is. So anyway, this blew up into a big thing, of course, because God forbid, anything involving Caitlin Clark all of a sudden becomes a huge thing. Again, she walked away. She didn't escalate it any. She took her foul and walked away. Okay. So again, Angel Reese was jawing at her. So then, let's see the next thing. Here we go. So now Angel Reese takes her shots, right? She's given no rebound attempts, right? She gets a free shot, free throw. Okay, so let's hear what this sounds like.
It's a flagrant. And then Chicago will maintain the basketball.
Okay. Takes her shot and she misses it. Okay.
Reese misses.
Chicago Sky. Thank you. There we go. And again, this was posted by various things. This was posted by Jack Mack here. The other one was ESPN itself. So now the WNBA is investigating that. Now here's the thing. Earlier, this is the thing I think about this. Okay. So this is hilarious. So people are wondering, well, what the hell? Why was Caitlin Clark? Why did she flagrantly foul? Well, now you watch this rebound. So this is, I think it's earlier in the game. Angel Reese comes in for a rebound. Caitlin Clark's literally like a meter from her, maybe a meter and a half behind her. And one of the Indiana Fever players is going for the rebound with Angel Reese, right? Makes sense. Now, you could be, you can what's the word I'm looking for? Jostle for position, right? That's the word. Wow, apparently words are escaping me today, guys. And that's fine. But watch this. Angel Reese literally shoves the gal on the Fever. And again, with Caitlin Clark watching, shoves her with two hands. And nothing's called. And you see Caitlin Clark going, what the hell? Why are you not calling this? Are you kidding me? So then that's where the flagrant came in. So she's, again, to kind of set this up, if you're on the screen, you can see it. If not, two players are going for the ball, right? At the ball, a shot is taken, ball bounces up, and the two players are waiting for a rebound. Reese literally shoves the gal with two hands, as you see, and no one calls anything. And Caitlin Clark's looking at the ref like, dude, are you going to call that? And when nothing happens, and Angel Reese goes back in to score, that's when Clark takes the ball away and kind of goes like, okay, well, you know what? If you guys aren't going to call anything, I'll go in. And that's why Clark was mad, is because they called the flagrant on her, but they didn't call it on Angel Reese before. And of course, when you look at it from the angle that we're seeing here, it kind of looks like Angel Reese dove a little bit, Well, and I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's one thing if you're, again, jostling for position, jockeying for position, I guess is the word I'm trying to say. You can't really use an elbow, but you can apply a little bit of pressure. But she full on shoved her. And again, it's a little bit crazy. I could see why she kind of got upset. So anyway, then like I said, she took the free throw, and now they're saying that people trying to distract Angel Reese, it's racism. So let's hear this again. You decide. I'll tell you my thoughts, but you decide.
Well, it's a flagrant. And then Chicago will maintain the basketball. Reese misses.
Okay, so are they saying the la 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 la, that sound? Is that what they're worried about? Because I can tell you, having been to several sporting events in high school and college, never a pro NBA game because, wow, those were expensive when the Sonics were in Seattle. Holy cow. But you make that sound because it distracts the player. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the crowd, is to distract the player. When the player is doing a free throw, you're up there going, Jack, miss, or whatever it is, or free, brick. That was what we used to always yell, brick, brick the free throw. But whatever it is, who cares? Unless they're up there making, they're throwing banana peels or something like that, trying to say, that's racist. Holy crap, super racist. Or let's see, I think last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, they were making monkey noises at a football player trying to score a penalty. Okay, there I get you, 100%. If you're up there going, ooh, 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 or something like that, dude, not cool. Not cool at all. Not even remotely cool. But come on. I mean, that's like back in, what was it, the 94 World Cup, I think it was. Maybe it was 98. They had these, it had to be like 98 or 2002. It was in an African country, and they had these things called vuvuzelas or something like that, and they made this weird noise. And yeah, a couple of the players, they broke their concentration. Totally. On free kicks, penalties. I don't remember which one. There was one in particular where I was like, dude, how'd they miss that? Well, it was because they got their concentration broken because these things sounded so weird. And again, it wasn't personal, right? It wasn't a racist thing. It was a noisemaker. So anyway, the whole thing is silly. And of course, the Indiana Fever now are saying, oh yeah, we're looking into this really really carefully, and we're supporting the WNBA looking for this. Like, why would you throw your own supporters under the rug, or under the bus, rather? Are you high? There's nothing in there that's, in that clip at least, that is remotely racist. Grow up. So, wow. Holy cow. All right, we're going to take a quick music break, and we will be right back. I don't want to use that one. All right, we are back. First segment of the Chris Richman Show for Monday, May 19th, 2025. Let's get right back into it here. So there was an attack, and this is being called a domestic terrorism act, in Palm Springs, California over the weekend. This was Saturday, I believe it was. This was the Desert Regional Hospital in Palm Springs. This is posted by Mr. Guns and Gear, although it's been on many sources. So credit where credit's due. This was the American Reproductive Center. It sustained a lot of damage, and that was actually the target, they found out later. It is a fertility clinic and in vitro fertilization lab. Let's see what we have here. And you see in the video, firefighters are racing to figure out what's going on here. Well, it turns out the person who did this was he was against pro-lifers, very much against pro-life. Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Good grief. Where is it? Wow. Okay. We'll come back. Yeah. Anyway, it was in here somewhere, but they found out this guy that did this was in his 20s, I think it was, and was trying to apparently live stream the whole thing. And again, pro-life, anti-natalist, that kind of thing, and apparently used way too much explosives for what he was trying to get done, although I don't know how you rate that. Ended up killing himself, actually, and they barely were able to identify the body, apparently, according to this. Again, with all this stuff like this, to me, it's a distraction from something else. It makes me wonder, right? But it is another example of they talk about how, well, January 6th and this whole, later disproven plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. That, right-wing extremism is on the rise, and we have to be really careful with these people. They're a bunch of lunatics. Okay? This person was far from right-wing. Far from it. About as left-wing as you can get. You look at these shooters, right? These mass shooters. They're not right-wing people. So maybe, just maybe, y'all on the left trying to say this stuff that, it's the right wing doing this and the right wing doing that. Maybe y'all ought to take care of your own side of the house first before you start casting stones at us. Because last I checked, we aren't running around blowing up abortion clinics. We might protest them peacefully. We might have people out there in front, like reading a Bible and trying to offer services to people that are thinking about going into an abortion clinic. But we're not intimidating physically. We're not blowing these places up. So again, I have to wonder, who really do we need to focus on here? Last I checked, we weren't taking shots at President Obama or plugs, literally in this case with Trump being shot at, once definitely, and then attempted twice. So kind of makes you wonder, right? Look at who killed President Kennedy. Lee Harvey Oswald, supposedly, allegedly, Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't a conservative by any stretch of the imagination. He was a communist. Not on the right. So I just, it makes you wonder. You look at this, you look at all these incidences that happen. There's no indication anywhere. Look at Las Vegas. That dude was messed up in the head. Again, it's not the problem isn't on the right. We tend to be law-abiding citizens. So when you're making these rules that affect your rank and file everyday people, are you doing it to protect or are you doing it to punish? And in many cases, it's punishment. Case in point, the Hearing Protection Act, which has not happened, by the way. Here we go. This is the one I was looking for. Man who died bombing, this is by Andy Ngo. So here's the thing with Andy Ngo. For those of you who haven't heard of Andy Ngo and really haven't paid attention to Antifa, there is, I would argue, no person on earth, except for maybe the people who organized Antifa and continue to support them, no one more knowledgeable about Antifa than Andy Ngo. None. Zip, zero, nada. So when Andy Ngo says something, he probably is fairly dialed in. All right, so Andy reports this. The man who died bombing the fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California, allegedly did it as an act of war against the pro-life and pro-natalist movement. The manifesto allegedly written by the man was posted online before the bombing. It has some similarities to the rantings of the far left, who also hate Christianity and view being pro-life as fascist. Not quite understanding where that comes from. But you look at this, and I'm not going to read it for you because, frankly, I don't think this person needs to have his manifesto repeated in the mainstream. I don't. I really don't. These people, honestly, they're dead. They're gone. Yippee skippy. Hope they enjoy hell, frankly. But, yeah, I have no use for them. Anyway, like I said, used a ton of explosives. A ton. And like I said, blew himself up as well as a lot of attacked the clinic, damaged the clinic heavily. Again, you don't see this on the right. And I want to segue from that into the Hearing Protection Act. Now, the Hearing Protection Act, let me put it this way. It was being held up. The way the big, beautiful bill, supposedly, as called, was being held up because they had largely neutered the Hearing Protection Act. They meaning Ways and Means Committee in the House, had made it so that the tax related to suppressors had gone down to zero. That was their big win they were crowing about. But the making tax for SBRs and SBSs was still there, $200. And suppressors still required registration with the National Firearms Act before being purchased, or as you purchase them. So, again, was it a win? I would argue not really. It was a Pyrrhic victory at best. So, it became very obvious that there really wasn't going to be much, and, of course, the pressure from above, meaning Speaker Johnson and President Trump, became quite intense. Well, instead of voting for it, the four people who were strong Second Amendment supporters voted present, and that allowed the bill to come out of committee. Now, Gun Owners of America just posted this. Chairman Arrington just gave this update for gun owners waiting for news on any amendments. Deliberations continue at this moment. They will continue on into the week, and I suspect right up until the time we put this big, beautiful bill on the floor of the House. Now, even though it's out of the rule or the Ways and Means Committee, it could still be amended in the Rules Committee. So it's not, there isn't completely dead or completely out of the ballpark yet. In other words, we haven't completely lost on this. And again, there is a win in this, I suppose, but it's not the win that it should be, because the short barrel rifle thing is still there, which is unacceptable in my book. Let's see. This is the first of many things, by the way. Let me keep going here. There it is. Okay. So the bill currently only contains a $0 NFA tax on suppressor transfers, but can be amended at the Rules Committee. So again, I'm going to encourage, if you're reading this or if you're looking at this, great. If you can't read it or you're listening, I'm going to encourage everybody to call area code 202-224-3121. Again, that is area code 202-224-3121, and tell Congress to include the Hearing Protection Act and the Short Act in with the big, beautiful bill. So the spending bill that's coming up. The HPA, the Hearing Protection Act, and the Short Act need to be included on this bill before it goes out of the House. And it needs to stay on there regardless of what happens, because this is too important. Again, there is nothing in the Second Amendment that says, well, keep and bear arms, except with regards to, short barrel rifles. Now, to make this even more ridiculous, the tax part, I mean, so the Ways and Means Committee, when they passed this bill, they included, and again, this is from Gun Owners of America, they included a full strike, so it is completely out of the federal excise tax on tanning salons. But they're telling gun owners and Americans nationwide that, well, we can't take the NFA out. We can't do that because, it'd be too much tax money. So again, what the hell is this crap? Tanning salons? Last I checked, when I read the Constitution, and, again, it's been a little bit here, so to speak, a week or two. Last time I looked at the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and the other amendments thereafter, I don't recall seeing in there, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I don't recall you have the right to be tan. Now, I say this as someone who is fairly white, as you could see, if you're watching the video. I am a very white man. And you can ask my wife, and she will tell you, when I get into sun, especially in the wonderful area of Mexico where my in-laws live, I will become red very quickly. I will burn quickly if I'm not wearing some kind of protective sunscreen. I will turn into a crab. And that might be, of course, a little bit dangerous in, someplace that eats or that has high seafood populations. I might get confused if I'm not careful. But again, as much as I would love to be able to just go into a tanning salon, slather on some sunscreen and, get that for free or, relatively so, I enjoy the fact that I wouldn't have an excise tax on that now. But last I checked, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, that is not a constitutional right. I don't have the constitutional right as a white man to be tan. I do, however, have the constitutional right, again, last I checked, to keep and bear arms. That is something I have the right to. So I'm curious why the Republican Party is going so hard not to get rid of the National Firearms Act. I don't quite understand that. I mean, I understand the Democrat Party, they are totally against the letting private citizens own firearms, law-abiding citizens who have almost no chance of illegally using the firearm because, again, law-abiding. But for some reason, they take law-abiding citizens and turn that into, you guys are a bunch of wacko gun nuts. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Just saying. Anyway, let's take another quick music break here, and we will be back, and we'll keep going on today's wonderful topics. With the first thing that we discuss when we come back will be the thing that you probably wanted to discuss in the first place. So we'll get there. All right? We'll be right back. All right, we are back. It is Monday, May 19th, 2025. And again, this is the first segment of the Chris Richman Show. Back at it. All right, let's go ahead and get into the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that would be plugs. For those of you who have completely been off the radar and off the webs, the interwebs, as Todd Herman calls them, Joe Biden was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I think it was. Was it prostate? Yeah. Anyway, and apparently it is, aggressive form of prostate cancer, supposedly, and supposedly it has metastasized to a degree. Now, a lot of us, Laura Loomer specifically, predicted that Biden was it was sick enough to where he was terminal. And she did this, I want to say, like a year ago. But a lot of us figured something like this was going on. Now, here's the thing. We also said, hey, you know what? In order to cover up Biden's dementia, when we saw this little health exam that he had and they found a nodule, okay, they're going to use this to disguise the fact that Biden was not all there. He was senile. Guess what? We were all right. And again, it wasn't just me. I wish I could say it was just me that called it. But it was pretty much anybody who actually has an honest following of politics called this one a long time ago. So let's get some examples of this. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. The left demands, this is posted from One Bad Dude, apparently on TikTok, reposted by Terrible. Let's listen to what this nice young liberal lady has to say. Not Terrible, this person that is recording here. Kara AH. This was again off TikTok. So let's hear what she has to say, shall we?
Leave him alone now. Leave him alone. Joe Biden has prostate cancer. Everybody leave him the fuck alone.
Apologies for the
Thanks.
For the profanity there. So leave him alone. Leave him alone. Now that, Joe Biden has prostate cancer, so leave him alone. Okay. Here's the thing, and we'll hear more of this, by the way. This is what the media and the left is doing. And this is a coordinated effort when you see this all over the place. Now, let's move on. So there's one, right? And again, this is just a small sampling of it. Let's go to David Axelrod on CNN. This is reposted by Derek Evans. Let's hear what David Axelrod has to say.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, this comes at a time where there is so much and continued attention, placed on his mental acuity and stability, as well as ahead of this book release. And you mentioned there's been a lot of discussion about it. His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now, do you believe that
She's talking with David Axelrod
silences or delays a lot of conversations about his, last year and a half of his presidency?
Okay. So do you believe this silences or delays a lot of conversation? In other words, hey, here's the talking point. Now, again, this was on CNN, okay? So CNN and the New York Times. New York Times is the paper of record. And again, yes, I'm using air quotes there for those of you who can't see it. And CNN is kind of the network of record. Again, using air quotes. She's telling the liberal pundits out there what to say, right? She's relaying from her masters to these other puppets out here on the left, on the right, all over the place. Anybody who is aligned with left-wing politics, what to say. Influencers on social media, whatever. But she pulls in David Axelrod, who worked for the Clintons and was instrumental in Obama's, with Obama's team as well, who was a power player in the Democrat Party in terms of strategy and whatnot. Let's, now that she's asked the question, and again, led the answer. She's telling him, here's what I expect to hear, basically. And again, Axelrod's deep in. He's probably the one who wrote the question. But let's hear what Axelrod says.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this. I just, It shouldn't be stunning because prostate cancer is so common among men at his stage in life. Most men, if they live long enough, deal with prostate cancer. And it's great news that they think that it's manageable, but jarring nonetheless. You know, the thing, Fred, is that people who serve in these offices.
Okay, so we get a bunch of syrupy words there. By the way, Axelrod's CNN's chief political analyst too. I'd forgotten about that. But again, just syrupy. Oh yeah. They should be muted. These conversations about Biden's mental decline, they should be muted. Now, of course, hand in hand with that goes the other gal amongst, and again, we'll hear more. Well, I can't believe Republicans are still talking about Biden's mental acuity. They're so mean. They're so evil. Oh my gosh, Orange Man, is literally bad. Oh God, I can't believe these Republicans. They're just the worst. They're still talking about Biden's senility. They're trying to tie two things together. And here's the thing. Whether Biden was senile or not, which of course he was, this cancer diagnosis has nothing to do with that. Not a damn thing. Now, of course, they're acting like this was a new thing. But again, the president has, and again, as much as we all, as much as he was illegitimately there, in my opinion, he was the president, supposedly. The president gets checkups every year. So you're telling me that nobody thought to have the president, again, the person in the White House, that they didn't know about this beforehand? That just kind of popped up? I mean, how often does the president get medical checks? Is it monthly? Is it, twice yearly? Is it just yearly? I don't know. But I find it very difficult to believe that he could go and have nothing with air quotes, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, wow, well, we found this thing. It was just there. Now, of course, this is something I haven't seen anybody talk about. One of the things that may explain at least this a little bit, I guess, is one of the side effects of the so-called COVID vaccine, which again, I'm using air quotes on that because we all know the truth about that, is turbo cancers. In other words, cancers that crop up, you're cancer-free, you have no medical issues at all, and then you start feeling weird. You go in and they go, holy crap, you've got cancer, and you're dead within like a month. I mean, pretty much like that, overnight, for cancer at least. And in some cases, even within a week. And that's one of these side effects that they found is these turbo cancers, or the increased likelihood of turbo cancers. So given that Plugs very publicly, took the supposed vaccine, it's entirely possible that, yeah, maybe he's got a form of turbo cancer. I don't know. But it is, and again, the timing is awful pat, right? It's awful interesting. Oh, all these questions come up, and here come, Jake Tapper, the supposed, neutral journalist here. He's not. But all of a sudden, this stuff comes up, and then, wow, that's weird. Now he's got this. You guys need to stop talking about his mental acuity because he's got cancer. So questioning what happened during his presidency and whether the things he was done, like the auto pen, all these orders that he signed with an auto pen, all the pardons he handed out with an auto pen, even Ketanji Jackson's appointment. Were they legit? Now, I would say this with Jackson, the Senate has the advise and consent thing. So that kind of, to me, is going to be a topic that falls on deaf ears, given if the Senate really didn't want it, they could have rejected her. They should have rejected her. So that part I kind of, not so much. But again, it's hilarious to hear these people going off about how, well, you need to stop talking about Biden because he's got cancer. I mean, let's hear this. The little pansy known as Harry Sisson. Okay. This guy's, by the way, a paid Democrat operative. Let's hear what Harry Sisson says.
So President Biden was just diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. It's also metastasized into his bones, which is incredibly concerning and incredibly heartbreaking. So I wanted to take this opportunity to say shame on anyone, and I mean anyone, who continues to beat up on Joe Biden. This man is...
So is that going to... Hey, Harry, pay attention. Is that going to include Jake Tapper? Is that going to include some of the people in your party who are still questioning, or were up until this point, Biden's, ability to be commander in chief? Are you talking about them too? I'm just curious.
No longer an elected official.
Correct.
He has dedicated his life to public service, whether you agree with him or not. And he is a father, a grandfather, and a man with cancer who wants to live out the rest of his life with his family. But
Okay. So I'm curious. With the exception of the cancer thing, where were you on Donald Trump? No longer in office, father, grandfather. Trump checks all those boxes, at least, 4 years ago he did, 3 years ago, whatever. Even 1 year ago. Where were you, Harry? Let me put it this way. Does anybody honestly think that Trump, if he had gotten cancer, let's say, after in 2021, 2, 3, whatever, 4, does anybody think the people, the Democrats would have said, you know what, hey, we need to stop talking about this, especially if the Republicans come out and said, hey guys, you need to be hands off. This is BS. Stop talking about Trump. He's got cancer. Leave him alone. Does anybody think the Democrats would have done that? Do you honestly believe that? Because I sure don't. And I don't think anybody with half a brain would. Let's keep listening to the little pansy here.
now, we have conservatives and people in the media.
Yeah, who are not conservatives like Jake Tapper. But continue on, Harry, please.
Profiting off of, writing books about, commentating on this man's health. And to anybody doing that, shame on you.
Okay, so again, hey, Jake Tapper, have you seen this? Because, here's Harry. Here's Harry. And by the way, this was reposted by America AF. But yeah, I wonder if Jake Tapper's going to have a problem with this. Because, Harry's telling him basically to go piss off. Right on this real quick. Listening to what Harry's saying here. Because again, one has to wonder, is Harry just talking about plugs, or is he talking about other people too? You have to wonder, right?
Out commentating on this man's health. And to anybody doing that, shame on you. We have Donald Trump, who is cutting cancer research, deporting children with cancer, among other things, and they don't talk about that. Donald Trump himself is also posting AI images of himself on social media, and nobody questions his health. Instead, it is wall-to-wall coverage for a week straight on President Biden and his health. So
Harry needs to learn. Let's just finish this.
Truly, to anybody that's engaging in this and not focusing on the real threat to the United States, which is Donald Trump, shame on you. Get out of the media.
Oh, Lord. Okay. So again, Harry apparently wants to get rid of Jake Tapper and a lot of other liberal journalists who are talking about this. Harry apparently didn't get the message from the DNC that one of the reasons why they're doing this this CYA fest is to, in fact, cover their butts. They ignored this intentionally. Biden being unhealthy, Biden being senile, whatever it would be. They ignored this on purpose, and now they've been caught. And so they have to go back and, try and rewrite history here. Harry's missing that. He didn't get the memo, apparently, from the DNC about this. So, Harry, I would suggest you check your inbox, because I'm willing to bet, bud, that you're going to have an email in there telling you to shut up and stop bringing this up. Now, that comment I made about, how did people not know? Buck Sexton talked about that too. It is sad that Joe Biden supposedly, I'm going to put supposedly in there because, again, anything can be said about anybody anytime, an aggressive late-stage form of prostate cancer. It's also very hard to believe that his cancer diagnosis was totally unknown until now. Now, I want to finish this up with one thing here. This part in other words. If you want proof about what the Democrats would do if a Republican had been diagnosed, like if Trump had got diagnosed, you need look no further than Rush Limbaugh. When Rush was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, what was the Democrat response? Was it, wow, that sucks. I don't agree with Rush on a lot of things, but damn, that is bad. My prayers are for you. Was it that, or was it, wow, Satan himself finally gets his comeuppance, or wow, the hate-filled bigot finally gets where he's going to get his. If you have any kind of memory whatsoever, or if you actually just kind of, don't have your head far up your rectum, the vast majority of responses from the left were the latter. They were definitely vitriolic and hateful. So that's where it goes here. Now, my thing is this. This is my personal opinion. Assuming this is true, which I'm honestly not convinced it is, this sucks. That's not cool. I hope that Joe Biden is able to recover from this. I hope his cancer, if he has cancer, goes into remission. But honestly, I don't think he has cancer. I think this is a misdirect. I think this is something to try and, like we've seen here, get people to not talk about his very obvious mental decline. And, Parkinson's, it could be. Maybe he actually has Parkinson's disease. I don't know. But of course, they will blame this if Plugs kicks it. Now, notice how they said, oh, well, yeah, it's possible he could recover. So one of two things will happen. Either Joe goes along with the group here and he recovers just fine, or he doesn't. He doesn't go along with the group. He doesn't go along and listen to what they want him to say. He doesn't disappear like they want him to disappear, him and Jill. But again, you don't put that out there unless you expect it to be, well, he recovered. Oh, it's a miracle, yada, yada, yada. And then everything disappears. All this talk about, in the mainstream media at least, about Biden's mental health goes away. Yeah, that's the whole point of this. Don't doubt it. All right, folks, this has been the first segment of the Chris Richman Show for Monday, May 19th, 2025. We appreciate you joining us. We'll be back for segment 2 here in a bit. And I want to thank you again, guys, for being here. It really means the world to me. We'll see you on the other side. And, of course, above all things, God bless you.